Hey guys, Lance of Mac Sound Solutions, and today we're testing out the Acasis TB1201, and they're going on sale today for $100. There's going to be 100 units, and then the price goes up from there. They're starting a Kickstarter with it, and then they'll put it on sale at full price. So the links are in the video description. So they sent this over to me for free to test out, so I'm going to talk about the pluses and the minuses. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the specs here and what this thing has to offer. You get 2 NVMe slots, you get 2 display ports, and you get 3 10 gigabit USB-A ports, and you get 2 card reader ports on the top. You get an SD card reader and a TF card reader. And last but not least, the Mac Mini power button on the side. And so looking at this, you can put up to 16 terabytes in here. I have a 2 terabyte NVMe and another 2 terabyte that is my Time Machine. So it's nice to have Time Machine just inside the box, not have an external drive connected. You can do a single drive, dual drives that are 2 separate drives, a RAID 0 or a RAID 1. Your speeds vary on the NVMe's depending on how many monitors you have connected and what configuration they are. So up to 3 monitors, which is what the Mac Mini can do on its own. So the case is not giving you more monitors, but it gives you 2 display ports as opposed to having just Thunderbolt ports. So depending on your monitor, that could be a nice thing to have. So looking at the front here, we have our 2 USB-C ports that are on the Mini. We still have access to those and our headphone jack. And then you've got your 3 10 gigabit USB-A ports. I kind of wish they added another USB-C port, but you know, you already got the 2 for the Mac Mini, so that's fine. And then we've got our card readers on the top, and then we've got the back display ports and power and the connection to our host, the Mac Mini. And of course you could use this thing without actually putting your Mac Mini inside it. You don't have to do that, but of course that's what it's made for, and you get the benefit of the side power button. And my question is, how is the Wi-Fi going to perform? How's Bluetooth going to perform? Are we going to take a hit in speed on the Wi-Fi? So I'm going to do a little test on that, and we'll do a quick test with Blackmagic Speed Disk. So this is my TB501 Pro, which is Thunderbolt 5, and you can see we get incredibly good speeds with that with a Western Digital NVMe. So now we'll stop that and we'll go over to our NVMe that's in the TB1201. And so there's what any NVMe you stick in there, that's about the speeds you're going to get. If you have a faster NVMe, it's not going to matter. The one that I'm testing out is rated at 4,000 megabytes per second, but because it's limited by the 20 gigabit bus, that is the reason we're getting slower speeds. So if you RAID 2 of these NVMe's together, you're going to get closer to 2,700 megabytes per second, depending on your monitor configuration. So for my use case, I have one of them being a Time Machine backup, because you don't need a super fast drive for Time Machine. That's plenty fast enough. And then I can use this for data, which I haven't really used the other drive yet, but I can use this one, 2 terabytes of data. So, my Mac Mini currently has 2 terabytes on the home folder external Thunderbolt 5 enclosure, and then 4 terabytes internally on this box. So that's 6 terabytes right there, which is pretty nice. And of course, you can up that to being 16 terabytes internally in this box, but you're limited by speed. So I don't know if I would spend that kind of money on NVMe's that I'm not going to be able to use at their top speed. That is one of the clinchers that you have to think about how you're going to configure this thing. There is one quirk we got to talk about, in that when I power this thing up, you got to have your power adapter connected. It's not recommended to just run it off the Mini, although it seems to. I would not do that because you're just taking power away from the Mac Mini. So keep your power connector to the case connected, and you power up the case first, then you boot up your Mac Mini and your drives mount. But what I found is, if I do a restart, if I come over here and do a restart, then these guys don't mount. I have to literally turn off the box and turn it back on, and then they mount again. I'm going to test that out real quick. I'm going to stop the video and I'll test that out. Okay, so that was interesting. This time, I'm not sure why this happened, But this time, the unit didn't power itself. The power didn't stay on. It shut off when I did a reboot. So before it stayed on, but the drives didn't mount. Now I'm just going to power it up, and the drives are going to mount. And then the drives appear, right? And my external monitor just came back on as well. For some reason, when I did it before, it did stay powered on. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. So I'm in the same room as my router, and you can see that it's showing I'm getting better speeds with the speed test app with the case on than with the case off, which is a little weird. But if you look at the actual stats in the Apple menu, the numbers are better with the case off than the case on. So if I was downstairs with this case, I might get slower speeds. I might have less of a signal. But seeing as I'm so close to my router, it doesn't really seem to be affecting the performance. The RSSI numbers and the noise numbers are definitely better on the Mini without the case. So next, I cranked up Handbrake and encoded a video to see how the Mini would handle being in the case and not being in the case, and basically thermal throttle the CPUs. So they're going up to 100 Celsius, and that's about where they peaked out at, and the fan kicked in 100%. It was making a lot of fan noise. In the long run, it took a little longer for the case version to finish encoding, but the reality is that's variable too. If you run the test again, you're probably going to get slightly different times. So it was 15 seconds longer, but that's not bad, and honestly, the temperatures were pretty much within the same region. I would say it might have run slightly hotter, but the fan kept it at bay, which is what it's supposed to do. And I sped these up, but the no case version finished encoding first, and then the TB1201. So I played Resident Evil 7 with the case and without the case, and pretty much got exactly the same frame rates, getting up to like over 350, which is pretty crazy at 2K, no metal upscaling. Yeah, it's a good port for the Mac. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy here, but I just wanted to show that, you know, the fan was running full speed ahead on both versions with and without the case, and the temps were hot, but the game played great. And I did a test just to put the computer to sleep, and you can see the power went down to 0 on the graph there, and then I woke it up, came back alive, and the two NVMEs were mounted on the desktop. So what do you guys think? Is this something you would want on your desk? It's nice it doesn't have a fan, right? And you've got two NVMEs in there with a big heat sink, basically. So far, I like it. I think I'm going to leave my M4 Pro Mac Mini in it. But I would love to see a Pro model with Thunderbolt 5 and 10 gigabit Ethernet. It would, of course, cost a lot more money, but my guess is if this box is successful, they will do that. All right, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, give me that thumbs up, and I will see you on the next Mac Sound Solutions video.